Hey everyone, how's it going? Hopefully you're having a good time, especially since we're back with Order of the Blue Lotus after I don't know how long our hiatus was, but we're back! And that's what matters. Brandi,
Woo!
how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, question mark. Yet to be determined, but always better when we get to hang out. And even
Definitely.
better now that 2 years after we started streaming the show, we're finally talking about book 3.
I was just thinking, I think yesterday, I was like, I think that it is taking us as long to rewatch this series as it did like the first go around when you're just waiting for a new season to come out.
They made the show faster than we've rewatched it.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? The journey's been great. We've had life mixed in with this fun, delightful show. And
Mhm.
now it looks like we are going to have a great about hour, maybe hour and a half. We'll see how into it we get of just chapter 1, The Awakening. Okay, first,
Mhm.
we have to know
Mhm.
what your description of the episode is compared to what they have online.
Yes.
And I will I will say season 3 I didn't know. I was thinking like maybe they'd step up the game a little bit. We'll see what you guys think. But for
Mhm.
The Awakening on Paramount Plus, it says after sustaining serious injuries at the end of season 2, Aang awakens to find himself aboard a Fire Nation ship. Meanwhile, Zuko journeys home. And initially I'm like, that's not terrible, except it totally breaks the immersion saying, after suffering serious injuries at the end of season 2.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna say
at
it
the hands
really
of Azula or something.
it really like takes you out like at the end of season 2 where you're just like, "Oh yeah, this is a show." I
Yes.
don't know I don't
Oh,
know how I
wait,
feel
this
about
isn't
that.
real?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. So immediate docking of the points for lack of
Yeah.
immersion. Um,
Mine's not too different. Mine is Aang recovers physically and mentally after being defeated in Ba Sing Se. Meanwhile, Zuko returns back to the Fire Nation but struggles to feel relaxed at home.
ooh, see, just the little additions there, mentally and physically.
Yeah,
I
because
like
I
it.
feel like this episode, especially for Aang, it's really more about like him coming to grips with the defeat and everything like that, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like it's really just more of a mental thing for him in this episode than it is any like physical injuries that he still kind of deals with. But
Oh yeah. Well, and it's interesting with the way that they just start the episode. Like
mhm.
I love cold opens, and this is as close to a cold open as you're gonna get in Avatar. You're just kind of thrown into things, and you're just like,
You're like,
what,
what?
dude? My first thought when I was rewatching this was, why didn't you take that down? Why would you? If he's gonna be sleeping in that room, you tear that off the wall.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
Your boy's gonna have nightmares now.
I've never really thought about that. Or like put him up in a room that maybe just doesn't have it to begin with, or
Yeah. Something that's a little bit more chill.
I mean, it's a Fire Nation ship, so I don't think chill is anywhere like, you cannot use that to describe anything in the
Yeah.
Fire Nation, I don't think.
Fair point. But initial thoughts on this. Oh, now I have to figure out how that popped back up. Delightful. Initial thoughts on this beginning of the episode. What do you think?
I think it gets straight to, like not straight to the point, but, like, straight into the action. So, like, you're seeing things from Aang's perspective, and you're kind of like, you're right there with him, like, how did he get on this ship? What's going on? And everything like that. So I kind of like that moment where he's like running through the ship and he's like, I gotta get away. I think that it takes us right back to season 1 and
Mhm.
like even that season premiere where he's like escaping it and stuff like that. Um and so yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. The episode as a whole, I struggle to like. I think that it's a really weak.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a really weak episode to start the season on. Not in comparison to,
Hmm.
like, season 2, which
It's
is worse.
season 2. I was about
But
to say, as far as season premieres go,
yeah, like
worst.
it's okay. It's just I don't know. I remember watching it for the first time and being slightly disappointed because
Hmm.
um I don't know, it just wasn't what I wanted from Avatar, especially like going the entire summer or whenever however long we had to
Mhm.
wait. Coming off of like the season 2 finale and then like you wait all this time and then that's it. Like
Yeah, it's kind of melodramatic, isn't it?
yeah, but at the same time, I think that it also kind of tells the viewers right away that this season is going to be tonally different because I think
Yes.
season 3 is dramatically different from either
Mhm.
the previous 2. Um and yeah, I think that makes them for great like character development, I think. But at the same time, I think it kind of suffers season-wise.
Mhm.
Season 3, when I think about it, I'd never think that it's my favorite.
Alrighty.
How
Yeah, I
about you?
think for season wise, one is still my favorite just because I
Mhm.
like the water tribe. And yeah, he's not quite as stressed out about everything. And you're absolutely right with the tonal shift. And they actually, the more I went through the pictures for this, the more I realized how they made specific scenes tonally different. Also, hi Marcus Aurelius. How are you doing? Good to see you there. But yeah, this picture alone, you see it's at night. They chose to hit for him to come out from the dark. And then you see another moment where, not to skip ahead in the episode, but Katara has a very raw, honest moment in the dark.
Mhm.
And it kind of shows that low light of yeah, they're kind of in a dark spot right now because Aang's feels like the world thinks he abandoned them. Katara has this pent up emotional trauma from her father leaving.
Yeah.
Sokka's got a serpent in the ocean. He can deal with that. But it's really cool from a behind the scenes perspective of how they decided to just be like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
And it works so well. Unlike yes, Aang's glider at the end of the episode. We will get there. I am so scorned by that because I
Yeah.
love that orange glider. I hate the blue one. Ugh,
Yeah, I don't
it
know. Like,
doesn't make
I
his outfit.
not to jump ahead, but I remember being shocked. I was like, "You
Yeah.
could hide it. You could just not use it.
Yeah.
You could just not carry it around."
You don't have to put it in a burning volcano. It just oh goodness. So many things. But we're getting ahead of ourselves
We
because
are
first
getting ahead of ourselves.
we're good at that though, and it's fun. Unless you're a viewer and you're very confused. But it is interesting how immediately it's like, yeah, no, here's what we're doing. And Sokka fills him in. Like, we got away and bye bye Earth King and his bear, which I did not remember that part at all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you
I
don't
thought
remember?
he like fell off of Appa mid-flight and we never heard of
No.
him again. Like I
No,
had
no,
no
no.
idea what
No, no,
happened to
no.
him.
No. Earth King and Bosco are just out there living their best life,
That
seeing the
was
world.
hilarious. Oh, good for them.
That's why I'm
Good
like,
for
we need a
them.
spin-off series
Yeah,
of just
yes.
them and their adventures. They can be mini episodes, just a couple minutes long, 8 episodes. That's all I need.
Right.
That's all I want. That's
Give
all I
them
want.
just enough to satisfy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do think it was a good choice though to be like, yeah, you definitely wouldn't look like a Fire Nation ship person with a bear. Let's
Well,
go
that
ahead.
and they're on the war path. They gotta trim fat where they
Yeah.
need to, and let's be honest, the Earth King is the biggest chunk of fat ever.
Yeah. They're just like,
They coulda used Bosco, but
yeah, Bosco the War Bear.
yeah, yeah.
No, that I feel like he could have mauled these three. To like forget the metal
Well,
bending to get him to
Bosco
fall. Just set
is
out
a teddy
Bosco.
bear. Let's be real. Like,
Yeah.
he'd
I think
flop
he has a
over.
little violent streak in him.
Perhaps,
Maybe.
perhaps.
You get Miyuki. If you're gonna have any animal on your ship, Miyuki's the
Mhm,
cat to
mhm.
have.
Definitely.
Oh, and one of the only non-hybrid animals in the series too.
Also, it's Bosco.
So she and Bosco, they'd be the perfect pair. We could see a buddy cop drama.
I was about to say, okay, now in addition to the miniseries that we have with the Earth King, we have a spin-off series where it's a good cop, bad cop with Miyuki and Bosco the bear.
And it's immediately known which one's the good cop and which one's the bad cop.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. But the encounter we have with the Fire Nation stuff, I say this is actually probably one of my favorite parts of the episode.
Oh yeah, we're like they're talking to the other captain of the ship.
Yeah, that and just like the immediate switch to action when Toph hears them say like, "I think this is a stolen ship," something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's cool to see covert ops happening in Avatar rather than just like blast your way out of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different flavor.
It is. And I feel like in that sequence, like Katara's bending is like some of the best bending that we've seen from her in
Yes.
a while. Like I think that her battle in Ba Sing Se at the end, like she obviously is like, you know, she's great. She's great. She's great. I can't talk. She's great. But like I think that her like tenacity is almost the same as what it was when she was fighting Paku back in like season
Ooh.
1. Like I feel like she's just so emotionally charged. And so she's just like, we don't have time for this. And so she's just like, you know, this is how we're gonna deal with it. And I even think like top spending is also really well. I do wish that we had like a little bit of a reaction from Aang when he sees her metal bend for the first time.
You're totally right. He doesn't know she can do that.
He doesn't know that she could do that at all. And she just like immediately like metal bend, and then like Sokka is just like whisking Aang away. And like Aang, I think, is so like hung up on not being able to like be the Avatar and help them out that you know maybe he doesn't really even fully comprehend what just happened. But like I would have liked just a little like thing where he already didn't know what was going on and then he was just like, what, and now Toph can metal like just like a little something.
the emotional whiplash that Aang goes through in the first few minutes.
Yeah.
It's just and actually this is something that I just thought of. In that fight, Aang really isn't necessarily needed because at this point he can't firebend. There's no one else who's a firebender on the ship. There is an earthbender in Toph. There is a waterbending master in Katara. You don't have air, but you also have, well, Sokka, and that kind of compensates a little bit in the ingenuity department. So really, Aang kind of separated into his different parts is still on the ship actively fighting. It's just not him who's doing it.
Yeah. And I think that it's also really interesting, especially like Sokka's foresight to be like, okay, they think the Avatar is dead, and we're gonna keep him dead until the day of Black Sun. And so just like having that like little extra, not only does Aang feel like he failed, well, because he honestly he did fail, but like dealing with like that defeat, he also has to deal with the fact that the whole world thinks that he's dead, and therefore any hope that the world had for the war to be over is kind of crushed at the moment too. And so like that is just heavy.
Well, and you see the troops marching through Ba Sing Se. We see Hope and their parents and things, and it's just, yeah, soul crushing if you didn't know that the Avatar was still alive.
Yeah.
Also, hi Corey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. 12 minutes late. Nah, we're just 12 minutes early. That's not how you look at it. Now, this scene, I think, if you look at this episode as a whole, it doesn't have a lot of comedy.
No.
It really relies heavily on Sokka to be the comic relief, and even then, it's very sparsely
very light. Yeah.
Thrown in. Yeah. So that goes with the tonal shift, but I like this little bit of humor where Toph's just like, dude.
I think that there's also a great moment where like I think Katara is like separated the two ships, and then like it's like a nice cut and it's just Toph and she just goes, "Load the Toph!" And like Pipsqueak
Yeah.
like slams down a rock and the Duke is kind of like helping her aim and being like, okay, we're like right there and stuff like that. Like I think that that's a good moment. And then Sokka just like, come on, universe, like why do you hate me so much? And then like the serpent just shows up and like takes care of it. He's like, thanks, universe.
So great. It's so much fun to see them all back in action. Because sometimes when you get from a season to a season, as I'm just now watching with Star Trek Voyager, they're trying to put every character in that first episode so you remember who they are. And
Oh.
sometimes that's not really good for the flow to spend a lot of time on each character to refresh people. This at least felt organic. It's like, oh yeah, we already ran into Pipsqueak and the Duke. This is our dad Hakoda. This. And it felt good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the character reintroductions feel like forced or anything like that. And especially because it's not like Hakoda, Bato, or Pipsqueak or the Duke even stick around past this episode. Like we do eventually see them again, but they kind of just are there to kind of like explain how they got away safely. And
Yeah.
then it's kind of just like back to the game. So I don't think it bogs it down at all.
Yeah, definitely. It felt good to have them all back together. And you kind of get a bit of an interesting shift here because you go from the gang and being like, "Okay, guys, we're good. We escaped the serpent. Thank you, universe," to these two living raisins telling them they're back.
Well, no, we do have like a moment of like Zuko on the ship before like they get to the Fire Nation.
Oh
And
yeah, because he gets a
he's kind of like
little
sulking.
moody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like he still doesn't know what's gonna happen. Like he he could be walking in and then immediately like thrown into prison or something. So he's like having that existential crisis. And then May's just like, "Are you cold?" And like he gives it, and then she's, "I just asked if you were cold." And then I don't know how you feel about it. They've only been gone from Bossing Safe for like maybe a week and a half, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Girl is already kissing on him. Like,
Oh
what
yeah,
did that happen?
immediately.
When did that happen?
I mean, you have been this is the most teenager thing to happen on this show. You put a bunch of teens on a ship and then they created their own ships and now that has set sail.
Yeah.
Now, and it is funny too how Azula brings up, she's like, "Oh, yes, May's been in a particularly good mood and you've just been gloomy." It is just like, yeah, everyone on that ship knows.
It's like, whoa, what's going on here?
I guarantee you one of the watchmen saw them like kissing and it's just like, "Ooh, I'm telling engineering," and engineering's like, "Ooh, I'm telling the chef." It's kind of like Total Drama Island, if you ever watched that show, but on a ship. Full of Fire Nation. Oh gosh. But yeah, no, it's cool to see the duality of Aang and Zuko in this episode. Because they completely switched spots.
They have. And then again, we're jumping ahead a bit, but like Aang has like this whole moment where he's like, "I need to redeem my honor." And you're just like, "Oh." And then, Zuko's over in the Fire Nation having his honor restored, but he very quickly realizes that it's not what he wants, or it isn't how he thought it would be. And he still is living under this fear of not being accepted by his father and everything like that. Like it's kind of bittersweet for Zuko because he gets everything that he's wanted and has been working towards in the past 2 seasons. And it still just isn't working out the way that he hoped for. And on top of that, we don't even see Iroh in this episode. We don't know what is going on. We don't know where he is. So
True.
Zuko doesn't even have Iroh to rely on. And so it feels very sad.
He's so alone. Like Zuko alone is Zuko alone, but this feels like Zuko in enemy territory because it'd be better if he was alone. Now he's stuck with like That's Big Daddy Boss. There we go. Now he's stuck with the inspiration for My Chemical Romance's song "Teenagers." If you're familiar with it, that song was made for Azula. Because my gosh, how old did you say she was? Like 14?
She's 14. It was funny when I was watching it. Bree walked in. It was like when Zuko comes to like talk to her after he met with their father, and she's like, oh yeah, I told him that you killed him, blah 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 blah. Brienne just sighs and she goes, I forget, she's 14. She's 14.
Yes. No, she's 14. She can do her own killer makeup. And it's like, at 14, you want to know what I looked like when I was 14? Let me find it.
Oh
Because
no.
it's not that. It is atrocious. Every time I see her in a scene, I'm reminded of how stunted my growth must have been. Because she's just killing it. Let me see. I've got so many. Oh my gosh, I have so many pictures. Anywho, this scene with Azula, where she's like, unless you think the Avatar is alive. And it's just that level of manipulation should not be wielded by a 14-year-old.
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting that she even like suspects that there's a way for him to have survived.
Yeah. Maybe she
Like,
electrocuted someone in the past and they lived.
no, like it's not necessarily that, but it's just like I just don't know how she comes to like that conclusion, because Zuko, he's afraid that he's not gonna be welcomed back. But the reason that he thinks that is because he didn't actually capture the Avatar. The Avatar is just dead.
Right.
And then when she's talking to him about it, he kind of like halfway hesitates and thinks back to the oasis water that Katara has.
Yeah.
But again, like for her to come to that kind of conclusion just so quickly and from like a little brief moment is kind of scary. And then for her to just go ahead and be like, okay, well, I'll just say that Zuko killed the Avatar. And then that way, when the Avatar shows back up again, it won't be on me. It'll be on Zuko.
There you go.
And like, even taking it a step further in like the longevity of the war and who is the Fire Lord, probably proclaiming and securing her right to the throne instead of Zuko's.
Yeah.
Like that's just
she's playing like 3D chess.
Yeah, but she's playing 4 different games of 3D chess.
Yes. Dude, my brain hurts trying to remember like 3 things that I need to do today.
Yeah.
She has to be like, I don't know, some kind of super powered brain.
I don't know.
Because take a good look at her right now in that picture. 14.
14.
Take a good look at Katie at 14.
I mean,
we're not even close to the same level.
Adorable. I feel like I have looked the same since book 14.
You hit that plateau and you're like, all right, I will never age again.
I'm like, this is it. This is as good as it gets.
I like this incarnation. Let's go with
same
that.
Height. Same everything.
But that just means you get to keep the same clothes, which Aang does not get to do in this episode.
No, he does not. No, he does not.
See, that's called the transition, kids.
Whoa.
But no, this scene in particular actually made me stop and think. Because of what we're seeing with what's happening, not to get heavy, guys, but we're going to get a little heavy, but what we're seeing over in like the Middle East, or people wearing their any kind of symbol of religion or non-religion, any kind of symbology, and you go into enemy territory, like this would be the equivalent of Aang ousting himself to the middle of the Fire Nation that did genocide against his people. Like if you tried to compare it in real life, like it has World War II feelings. And so I can see where he's like, these people, they killed everyone that I know and love. They took out my entire support network. They like all this stuff and all the atrocities. And now he's like, this is the last straw. I'm not going to hide from them, sort of a thing. And you really start to see his earthbenderness come through. that stubbornness that I'm not gonna budge sort of
Mhm.
thing. And if this was season 1, I just don't think he would have had that. So it's nice to see some character
I
growth maybe mixed in.
I think that he still would because for like the entirety of the season or the series, Aang has always been an air nomad and he's always been very proud of that.
Mm,
Something that he hasn't always been proud of and hasn't always been able to own is his avatarhood.
mm,
And so for Sokka to be like, you can't be the avatar right now, you need to remain hidden, that was kind of like one thing because, Aang has struggled to like own being the avatar. And then so when they're just like, okay, you not only have to hide that you're the avatar, you have to also hide that you're an air nomad. That was more difficult for him because at his
mm,
core, he's an air nomad, and he's very
mm,
proud of, his people and his traditions and all of this thing and all these things. So I think that that's kind of like what it was, and also to kind of like build off of what you were saying, hiding hiding that he was an air nomad also means that the Fire Nation did win in wiping out the air nomads and
mhm.
everything like that. And so yeah, I do think that that's why it was a little bit more heavy and why he
Mhm.
was just like, No."
Yeah. Well, if you think back to season 1, there was the Fire Nation festival with, Jean, I think it
Mhm,
was, and he wore a mask kinda covering up that, but, like, this, it does feel like he's already had the avatar ripped away from him in the public image. Now he's getting the airbender ripped out too.
mhm.
It's yeah, just amazing writing for what was meant to be a kid's show, but now is ours. Oh, yeah, and then you get the scene with Katara. We're kind of flipping through the timeline because even though I rewatched it today, literally 2 hours ago, I keep remembering different things that I wanna talk about. Um, where Katara is healing him, he doesn't quite remember what happened,
Mhm,
and then you get that I couldn't get the actual screen grab where she's like, "Yeah, you have a lot of built up energy in this area," and he's just like, "Whoa," like
yeah,
that. I love that exposition for Aang. Like,
mhm,
how they showed how he had a flashback. Because sometimes in shows, it can get really choppy, kind of like Doctor Who flashback style, not sometimes not the greatest. And so this one tonally had the right tone, and it also had the right feel to it.
yeah,
Just props to the director. I don't even know who directed this episode, but they did an amazing job for what is a kind of a quiet, lackluster episode.
yeah.
He had dig into the nooks and crannies, which most kids won't do. Like, there's actually some meat in there.
Well, that and I think that, like, him having kinda like that flashback and, like, remembering everything, I think also because it is a kids show, it helps the younger viewers be like, "Okay, this is, like, what happened previously, and this is kinda, like, where we're going now," and kinda just helps tie everything back together.
Mhm. Definitely. And we get to see not only Aang like helping us out being like, "Oh yeah, no, this is what happened in season 2," without doing like a previously on Avatar because this
Mhm.
episode didn't have that
No.
on
Nope.
Paramount Plus. I don't know if they like cut it out because of streaming or something, but it feels like if any episode's going to have previously on Avatar, it should be this one.
No.
You get nothing. Oh yeah, but this definitely your description of it fits so perfectly because Aang physically healing, mentally healing, and honestly not doing a great job of doing both.
Hey,
Are
they just take time. They just take time.
it does take a lot of time, and time is one thing that I mean. Zuko's been away for 3 years at the Fire Nation,
Mhm.
and so time is something that he's had on his mind. And I'm not even sure if this screenshot is from that episode. I think it might be from a different episode. We
It
kind
is.
of yeah, it is. I knew it. They were looking at the tapestries on the wall, but you can still see it on his face here. Like he's just so pensive.
Yeah, and again, I think I was kind of mentioning it earlier where it was like this him returning to the Fire Nation is kind of like this giant buildup of like the last
Mhm,
3 years of his life of him just fixating on something that he thought that he wanted, which
mhm,
ultimately, like, for Zuko, it's always just been, like, his father loving and accepting him, which is just sad, that he doesn't have it. But, like, him finally, like, getting back home and his father being like, "Hey, halfway glad that you're here." And,
Yeah.
like, he's slowly getting everything that he thought that he wanted, and it
Yeah.
just is slowly he's realizing that that's not what he wanted at all, and, like, I kinda keep thinking that in the back of his head, he's just kind of thinking of everything that Iroh has told him over the past 3 years,
Mhm.
and, saying on how, like, he can choose his own destiny and kind of, like, almost become his own man and find his
Mhm.
honor himself and all these things, like, I feel like this is slowly where it starts to click, but, like, at the same time, because he obviously doesn't make, like, those types of decisions until later on in the season, he's also kind of like, "Okay, well, maybe I can just fix it, and I can make it feel the way that I want it to, and,
Mhm.
I can still get everything that I want," and everything like that, so it is definitely interesting, like, I think the title of this episode, I was thinking about it, it's just
Ooh.
"Awaken," and so, like, very obviously, like, that's, like,
Yeah.
talking about Aang awakening from, his injuries and stuff like that, but I think that this also has, like, a double meaning and can even kind of apply to Zuko and kind of, like,
Mhm.
him having this, like, inner awakening of, "Maybe this isn't what I want," and him slowly realizing Iroh was right all along and, he can kind of make those decisions of himself
Mhm.
instead of just being what he thinks his legacy should be, which is, like,
Exactly.
oh, I
That's deep.
heavy, heavy.
Oh, man. Well, you mentioned that it's like a buildup from the past 3 years for Zuko, then the crescendo has to be seeing his father again, because when you this is the first time that we actually see Fire Lord Ozai's face,
Mhm.
and so it's not only just a big moment for him, it's also like the audience is like, "Oh, what's he gonna
What
say?" And also, what does he look like? Who
does
is
he
he?"
look
It's like,
like?
"It's Mark Hamill."
Yeah. Which
Oh, I love it.
I have to ask, what do you think of, like, the character reveal of Ozai? Like, what thoughts?
So personally, I do like how he's just engulfed in flame and he's just sitting there chill, like all day. Dude is just surrounded by fire. Carcinogens be darned. Like what, what is it? But having Zuko come in and just showing that sense of power, because for most of the series, even though Zuko's kind of been off the rails and on the rails and off the rails, he's had a sense of power to him. And for him to just fizzle in front of this figure. That's kind of a passing of the power. And so I like how they framed him. I like how they set him in the scene. I do think he looks too much like a pretty boy, but that's just because of royalty.
That's what I was ultimately hoping you would get at. Like, yeah, like, the buildup is, like is there, and, like, we kinda, like, got hints of the Fire Lord in season 1, and then, like, we have, like, that big buildup, like, at the end of season 1 where he's talking to Azula, and, how they're like, "You have to go capture your brother and uncle," and then, like, we don't really see him a whole lot in season 2.
Mm-mm. Do we even see him in season two?
We see, like, flashbacks, so, like, Zuko alone, like,
Oh,
we'll
right.
see him in, like, flashbacks and stuff like that, but, like, we don't, see him at all, and so this is, like, the face reveal for Ozai, and yeah, like, it is built up, and you're just like, "Oh," you don't even know if you're gonna see his face or not, and then, like, you see his
Yeah.
face, and you're just like
Uh, you don't even have a scar?
I'm kinda reminded of of Squidward, like, just imagine that he I don't know, that he looks good or something, and Squidward just goes, "Oh, no, he's hot." Like
It's
like
so true.
you're just like, "Why are you pretty boy?" What?
He's so anime right here.
He
Like
is
he's got the
extremely anime.
cheekbones. He got the eye, the nose bridge. Like he's getting the royal treatment from the animators.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, okay. And you're like, even like rewatching it, I was like, I don't know. Because Mark Hamill's voice that he does for Ozai, perfect. Like I
Oh my gosh, yeah.
can't imagine anything else. But I was like, does this face match this voice? Like,
Yep.
I feel like as a viewer, I spent 2 years not envisioning the Fire Lord's face, but like on a rough outline, like just like based off of like
Yeah.
how other people look in the Fire Nation, like based off of like Iroh and Zhao and like, you know, all these other
Yeah.
people that we see from the Fire Nation. And then we just like have this. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, and
I'm
like if you
not
look at his
sure.
face, it's so just dead. I imagine he'd have like a look of sinister evil, like Azula or like Zhao. Like
Yeah.
that's what I was envisioning. Vulcan eyebrows, the twisted grin. No, he's just a pretty boy.
He's just a pretty boy.
He's
He's also
he's
so
like,
incredibly young.
yes. How old is the Fire Lord? Because I
I
didn't
don't
I
know. I
don't
would have to
think
look.
I've ever asked myself that. Also, Mark Cerulli says, "My boy Mark Hamill catching strays." Oh no, I don't even know what that means, but I imagine it probably not good. Now he's
45. Iroh's age. No, hold on,
45.
hold on. With understanding that his younger brother is 45. Since the Air Nomad genocide led by Fire Lord Sozin took place in 0 AG, and he died at 102, one can Iroh's age by the value of Sozin's placed on. I don't know. This is getting into math thing, and I'm not about to do math live on
It's a
air.
Monday night. No math is
No.
allowed.
I mean, I was doing good reading out loud, so I'm gonna keep it at that.
Take the win.
Yeah, so they're saying so Iroh's age is somewhere between 55 and 63, and Ozai is 45, which means Ozai,
Wow.
you know, using that sunscreen, moisturizing,
Yeah.
exfoliating.
Using L'Oreal.
Yeah, I love that for him.
He and Azula had the same makeup artist. Absolutely. Oh, just move chamber to chamber, doing everyone's faces. But yeah, we get to see that reunion moment and Zuko's confusion afterward, which we already touched on about. He's like, Azula, why did you tell him?
I think that
you did
moment
that?
where Ozai is like, and you killed the Avatar, and like he has like this brief moment of shock, but he very quickly like gets himself under control, and he just simply asks, "What did you hear?" Like he didn't give Ozai anything. And because like I feel, and I think that shows like a lot of growth that he's had, because I feel like season 1 Zuko would have just been like, what? No, Azula did it,
Yeah.
without thinking, and like put his foot in his mouth. But like this one he season 3 Zuko slowed down a bit, and like he almost like took a lesson from Iroh about like learning from the other elements, and he kind of like took a waterbending move and redirected. Like he
Ooh,
just
I like that.
yeah, like he just like had like this quick moment where he was like, okay, I don't have all of the cards yet, so I'm gonna let you give me something instead of me giving you something. And I'm just like, wow, look at our boy go. Oh, he's growing.
He's so smart.
He may survive.
Yeah. Well, and it goes kind of to that internal monologue of Iroh in the back of his head, probably just being like, this isn't right, the whole time. And so he's already got that on his mind, and now he's probably just thinking, oh, wait a second. So nuanced. Love it.
He
And
looks
then
so sad in this screen grab.
he does. You just kind of like in his eyes. He even got wrinkles. So sad. And then, well, you go from one traumatized guy to another, because then Aang he gets angry. He decides to up and leave, and decides, you know what's better than just like staying dead to the world but still being alive? Just being dead in general. I never understood this. Like, dude, you are literally struggling to walk. How are you gonna take on the Fire Lord?
Well, I think like in that moment, it's almost like he'd rather take on the Fire Lord now, or he'd rather almost just be dead instead of pretending to be dead and all this thing. But when I was watching, I realized like he didn't take Appa.
That's
He just
true.
went by himself. And like he even said, you know, like I don't want anybody else to get hurt or to die
Mm,
for something that I have to do. And so it was just like, wow, like he didn't even take Appa. Like he
mhm.
would rather just do it alone. And I think he even says something like, I don't think I'm gonna survive. And you're just
Yeah. Mhm. It's just
like
like the darkest moment, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Wait, what?" And then if you think back to the start of the episode when it was nighttime too, wait a second, that was a full moon. Hold on a second. Could it be? It's the amazing moon spirit. There we go. Yay!
anyway.
Oh, I
Well,
love
that
this
and we
return.
also get to see Roku, which I was trying to
We
think
do.
back. I think the last time that we saw Roku was in the um season premiere for season 2 because I don't really think that I don't think you really
Right.
see him.
It's the Avatar state, and that was it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, like, that's like, "Oh my gosh, wow, I haven't seen this guy in a while."
So
Um,
you still good there, bro?
yeah,
You're just
yeah.
sitting here watching all this?
Yeah, 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 like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Um, so, like, that's interesting, and I think you can go here's a really scary thought for you, and you only come to this conclusion if you've seen the series in its entirety and, like, you learn some things. So, this is spoilers if you haven't finished the series, but, in in at the end of, like, season 3, you learn that Aang can't go into the Avatar state because his, like, chakra has been blocked.
You mean
And
season
so
2?
nope, season 3. So
Season 3?
at the end of season 3, when they're, like, getting ready I think it's in Days and
Right.
Night yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
They're like, "Oh, if all else fails, you'll just be able to go into the Avatar state," and Aang's like, "Actually, no, when I was hit with lightning, like, that blocked, like, my, one of my chakras, and I can't actually go into the Avatar state," which means that when Aang is in this storm and he's, like, underwater again, like, it's very reminiscent of when he got
Mm.
put into the iceberg, and then also in season 1, the episode The Storm, where, he has, like, that one, like, brief moment where he's about to go into the Avatar state again, and you're like, "Oh, no, don't freeze yourself again, my guy." But
Make
in
better
this
choices.
moment, he literally has nothing to save him. He doesn't have the
Mm-mm.
Avatar state or the connection to his past lives. Like, it's literally just, like, his almost will to live, which
Mhm.
seems very low.
Yeah. True.
So so you're just like, "Wow," like, that is anxiety inducing on a rewatch. It's
Anxiety.
very interesting.
Definitely. Well, and because that makes me question, and I might just be like stupid or something. How is Roku here if his chakras and avatar spirit stuff blocked?
That's what I was wondering as well, and this thought, like, just came to me, so I don't really know. I I would think that his connection to his past lives aren't, like, severed because he still, like, calls past avatars to talk to them, like,
Oh,
in the
Yang
series.
Chen stuff?
Yeah, 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 so, like, he can still, like, connect to them. It's just for whatever reason, he can't go into the avatar state, and
Okay.
it's gonna get into the fan theory that I have for this week, but
Ooh.
I think I may understand possibly why.
Okay.
So, we'll get into
It's
that in a bit
exciting.
when we finish up, but, yeah, it's either that or maybe because it's the full moon and, UA has been able to kind of, like, stay, I don't know, words are words.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, UA, like, kinda helps bridge the gap,
Mhm.
maybe, but
She's like, "Come here, Roku, you can hop on my signal. Just
Yeah.
Share a stream. It's fine. Well, and that gives him that little lovely little pep talk, and he rides a tsunami all the way to the Fire Nation. Meanwhile, his girl's back on the boat, worried sick about him.
Mhm.
And just oh my gosh, I feel like Katara needed this. Like when you have a knot in your back and you just have to go to a chiropractor and they're just like, "Okay, here we go. Boom." And just release.
Yeah.
This was her boom moment. It's like, "I'm worried about Aang. I still have feelings about you leaving." And this and of course she feels like a responsible adult in all of this season. Just
Yeah.
mm, I'm glad she at least got to vent.
Yeah, I think she needed it, and yeah, like, I think that it is, like, her carrying a lot of, like, the emotions that she has about her father and kinda, like, putting them on Aang, but then again, like, him just wanting to go and do it by himself and try and protect everybody, and her just being like, "Hey, we can protect ourselves, and who's gonna protect you if you're out there protecting us," and all this stuff. But let's take a step back because in season 2, when Sokka gets to go, like, see Hakoda and everything, and Katara is so quick to be like, "Oh, you go see dad,
Uh-huh.
I'll stay behind." It was like, "Oh my gosh," it was because she didn't wanna see him. She didn't wanna
Yeah.
face those, like, angry emotions that she had about her
Mhm.
father, and you were just like, "Ooh, like what?"
She's got a lot going on.
Yeah. So, like, that I think that that's, again, like, an interesting thing that you only catch on a rewatch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Once you have, like, all the context and everything put in, you find so many different threads in the tapestry of the show that you're just like,
Mhm.
"These 2 are connected?"
You're like, "What?"
Oh gosh. But at least, she gets the stress out. She gets to have like a one-on-one with her dad. And then she gets to find Aang. And we get to see just the pure relief of, oh, thank heavens.
Yeah.
It's like when this is absolutely nothing like this, but I was in New York City visiting my brother a few years ago. I think maybe a year or two. And my friend who works at our TV station was watching my cat because we lived in the same apartment complex. Well, she went in and she found radar, but she couldn't find Doppler.
No,
And
no.
she like freaked out. She was like, "I can't find Doppler." And this and this and this is on the phone with me. I'm like, "Okay, check this, check this." We could not find her. I was like, "Okay, check behind the bins under my bed. Sometimes she might try to sneak in there." And she pulls a bin out and she's like, "Oh my god, she's in a bin." And she had somehow gotten into one of the plastic bins and was just like this.
What?
We have no idea how long she was stuck in there. If
Aw.
she could have gotten her way out if she wanted to. Like, so the relief that I felt when she lifted the lid and Doppler just hopped out and pranced away, not bothered at all. Like, that's what I imagine Guitar's relief is. It's just, oh, you're alive and not dead.
Yeah.
But also, how did they find him?
Well, so, like, if I'm not mistaken, I think that this is the island that, like, Roku's temple is on. Like, it's, like not Iroh,
Yeah.
Roku's.
Yeah.
It's Roku's temple, so it's, like, the crescent island that's just, like, on the very, like, almost outer edge of, like, Fire Nation territory. Um,
Okay.
so, like, it's just, like, the first, like, little land mass that I think
Mm.
is just
Like,
still
we'll
it's
either find him face down in the ocean or on this piece of rock.
yeah, so I would, like, think that, but at the same time, I mean, they were riding Appa, so, I mean, we could go back to, like, the idea of, these invisible strings tying people together, and so we know that Aang and Appa's
Mhm.
connection are pretty strong, so maybe they just let Appa go wherever
Yeah, it
they
is
they
Moy.
need to. Yeah, so
Come on. Ah, yes. No, I that's always bugged me since I was a kid was how on earth did they find him? Because I wouldn't have been able to. I would have been like, oh gosh, oh gosh, is he this way? Which way did the tides take him? Ah.
yeah.
Just
I think that
worry wart.
that's Roku's Island because like, they've been to it before, back in, like, season 1 for, like, the
Mhm.
winter solstice, and so I think that that's, like
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that that's, like, just, like, the same, like, little
Mm.
landmass, so
Yes. This is a very convenient way of getting rid of all of the extra weight that they introduced at the beginning of the episode. You don't have Hakoda, you don't have Bato, you don't have the
You don't
Duke
even
or
have the
Piccoli.
ship. You don't even have the ship. It's
No
just
need.
it's just back to them.
Minus Glider. R.I.P. Glider.
Here, okay, so back to the glider thing.
Yes.
So I think that is like a symbolic way for Aang to give up being an air nomad and fully like accepting his responsibility to be the Avatar. Because after this, he does cover up his arrow. He does do all of these like little things for like the benefit of the idea of, we're going to surprise them with the Avatar and the Day of Black Sun and all of this and stuff like that. So I think that that's just like very symbolic for him to be like, okay, I'm still an air nomad. That's still like important to me, but this is him finally being like, this is the last thing. I'm the Avatar now. And I think that's because otherwise, like, why in the world do you get rid of
it's so
like,
cool. You can fix it.
You can fix it.
Well, because my first thought was after rewatching this and he catches it on fire, I'm like, they go to the air temples. There have to be other gliders. They could just like pick out of a locker or something and be like, oh yeah, this one's mine.
I don't know.
Shake my head. No, this I think it definitely is symbolic of him letting go of what he was and focusing on the mission and becoming who he's going to become. So very grown-up theme right there. Because definitely season 1 Aang would not have done that.
Oh no. He would have like gone into the Avatar state because it was destroyed or something like that.
Yeah. As one should, because that was a very good glider. Seriously, I hate this. I hate the second one so much. You guys will find out in the episode, but I hate it so much.
I can't wait. I can't
wait. There will be words. that finishes up kind of like an end cap to everything that's come before it, and it cleans the slate for season 3. And I love that they did that. Like season 2, if you're gonna end it on that like almost cliffhanger of, well, he's not dead, but nothing's okay. How is this gonna end? You gotta cap that off before you can start a new story arc. So they did a good job. As boring as this episode can be at times compared to the rest of season 3, it's at least okay in my book. And apparently in IMDb's, let me double check, but I think that it's ranked, where'd it go? Yeah, it's an 8.6 out of 10. So it has a pretty high rating. It actually has a higher rating than Good Omens.
Which should tell you something. You know how I feel about that show.
And if you guys don't know how she feels about that show, you can go back and watch Welcome to Our Cults, episodes 1 and 2. It's so much fun. But yeah, that does say a lot that this episode's at an 8.6. It's just genuinely part of a very good show. But that's all I have for this episode. Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to talk about before diving into the fan theories?
I was just going through my notes. No, I think I touched on everything that I wanted to. So
see, I need to take a cue from you actually write out my notes because I make mental notes. I'm like, yes, I'm going to talk about Azula being manipulative and how she's only this year old. I'm just like, you know that SpongeBob episode where it's just like blah, 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 like that.
That's what happens.
This is.
That's okay.
I mean, it's that, and then like an image of Scott Bakula randomly shows up, but otherwise it's just.
I don't know why. But one of my former coworkers texted me the other day, and it was just like a picture of one of the monitors in the studio, and it was Scott Bakula, and there was
really
he doesn't send anything else. He just sends a picture of Scott Bakula on a TV monitor in the control room. And I just send back Scott Bakula ? Cricket. Nothing else. I still have no idea. The only thing that I can think of is that I one time was talking about how much you like Scott Bakula. And so he just misremembers and thinks that I really like Scott Bakula.
Oh no.
So I don't know, but it's funny.
It's always good to have Scott Bakula in your life, which it is his birthday today.
Oh, well, happy birthday,
So
Scott Bakula.
I was gonna say he'll never see this, but happy birthday, Scott Bakula. Absolutely love you. Gotta get your autograph someday, but you don't go to cons. You gotta go to Comic Cons.
Hey,
Um,
well, he's still like having a thriving career on NCIS New Orleans. Okay, he does not have time.
they canceled that show years ago, Brandi.
Oh, I don't know.
He's just been retired, living at home with his wife for a few years.
Yeah. Let Scott Bakula do
He'll
what
need
Scott
money
Bakula wants to
eventually.
do.
Yeah,
Precisely. There you go.
they always do, except for Patrick Stewart. He's not gonna do cons apparently. Sad.
Well, when you become Patrick Stewart or at the same level as Patrick Stewart, you just
Yeah.
don't need him.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because William Shatner is at every single Comic Con that you and your mother go to. Like everyone's cons are William Shatner.
They're
It's
two opposite ends of the spectrum.
very complete. Like if it was a flat Earth, they'd each be on the edge. Oh gosh, derailment time. What were we talking about? Fan theories.
Fan theories. Okay.
What you got, Brandi?
Okay, this one gets messy. So,
Ooh.
we were talking about like last stream if whether or not Aang actually dies or not.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. And so rewatching this episode made me think, what if he and this relies heavily on like knowledge of you watching like Legends of Korra. So if you haven't watched
Oh
it,
yeah.
this is gonna be spoilers. But what if when Azula shoots him with the lightning, it doesn't necessarily kill him. It's just since he was entering into the Avatar state, it severs the connection between him and Rava.
Ooh.
So like he isn't necessarily dead. It's just his connection with Rava has been severed. And so like Katara possibly could have healed him without the spirit water. And he might have recovered, but he wouldn't have been the Avatar. But since she had the spirit water, that's like what reconnects him to Rava, which is why when she's healing him again in this episode, and she's like, there's a lot of energy like built up in this spot. Let me just try to, and then like you have like that moment and he kind of like relives it. It's because like she's making the connection between him and Rava even stronger.
Oh.
And so maybe that's why
Mm.
he can't go into the Avatar state because that chakra is still blocked, but maybe that's why he can see Roku is because like his connection with Rava is like just a little bit stronger. And so like that's really what Katara is healing in that moment is his connection with
Okay.
that idea. And you can go there's another layer to it because there is a really popular fan theory that I think that we talked about all the way back in season 1 where it
Ooh.
was that Princess Yue was supposed to be the next Avatar and then that's why like she's born without like crying or she's just like asleep and that's why she has to have like, the moon spirit to like give her life because
Oh yeah.
her like physical body is supposed to have that spirit. So
Mhm.
you can take it a step further. Like if Aang wasn't necessarily dead, but his connection with Rava
Mm.
was severed, then it's like he's just asleep. Like he's still alive, but he's just asleep. And that's why
Mm.
Katara was able to bring him quote
Okay.
unquote back to life. If that makes
I could
sense.
see,
It feels
like,
jumbled.
I could well, no, 'cause I could totally see, like, the Avatar execs taking this to Nickelodeon being like, "Okay, and this is what happens." They're like, "You're gonna kill a child?" And they're like,
Oh,
no, we're
no,
just
yeah,
separating
yeah.
the spirit connection. It's
Sweet.
yeah, we're just gonna reconnect the spirit with
Yeah.
some magic water, it's fine."
Yeah.
That's the PG version of what happened. And I like it.
Yeah.
Stamp of approval from me. Boom. I need to get like a graphic that does that. Just approved.
But yeah, that's all I have. I feel like this episode doesn't bring a whole lot in terms of being able to think about fan theories. And I haven't
Yeah.
looked up fan theories in ages. I just keep coming up with it.
No, because then you get like pure good fan theory. Like I like that.
Yeah. So.
Well, you know, fan theories were slim pickings for this episode. So was fan art. I only really found one piece.
Mhm.
And there's two variations of it because the artist put it on Redbubble. But I found this rendering,
Ooh.
which I like the style. I don't know why, but I like the style of it. Momo's just like literally looking like Doppler. Just wait a sec. What was
It kind
that?
of reminds me of like the style, and I'm so happy that I get to talk about this episode. It reminds me of one of the animation styles in The Great Divide.
Oh no, it does. Oh, you're
Yes.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
How did I not see that before? I need to look up PY07 exclamation point and ask them if that's what they were trying to go for.
I think that the artist was probably just trying to do like something a little more anime style, which is like what those animation
Eh.
styles are. But yeah, it just reminds me of one of something from The
Oh,
Great Divide,
definitely.
which I'm
Well,
just
and they
happy
made
that I got
it
to talk about. Oh, nice.
well, they made it even more like anime
Mhm.
Asian inspiration, adding in some text, adding in the clouds in that style. I like that they have the moon just because UA. But yeah, this is the only art I could find that was anything related to this episode. So I guess most people just let it fly under the radar, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more fan art to go.
I feel like if you're stacking episodes just within like season 3, there are so many that stand out that a lot of
Mhm.
times you're kind of just like, let's just keep on flying.
Yeah. That when we do the ultimate ranking, if we do one of all the Avatar episodes, there should be like a flyby section. And you just it's like the timeout area. You just
Yeah, you
over
could do
here.
without you know, you're
Avatar state, get over there. You
yeah.
know what you've done. Oh my gosh. But that covers everything that I had. How
Yeah,
about you, Brandy?
I think so.
Look at us. We are vibing on this. One episode into book 3. We have a whole lot more to go, everyone. Marcus Aurelius and Corey Cochran, thank you guys for joining us, and anyone who is lurking without commenting. We love you just the same. And yes, we're going to be back talking more about Order of the Blue Lotus sometime soon. We should probably discuss the schedule before we even start the streams. I need to think better about that. But anywho, you'll
We've learned not to
eventually get
make
the rest of
promises.
it. Yeah, exactly. It might take statistically, it only takes us a year to get through all the
Precisely.
each season. So
Precisely. And if anything, this season has more hour-long episodes than any other season.
right, the
So,
two-parters.
yeah, it's got a lot of two-parters, it's got some four-parters, like, you know.
Yeah, true. This
Which
one's gonna fly by.
it bodes in our favor, at least.
Oh yeah, it makes it so much easier. But we're going to cover all of it, everyone. So we'll be back eventually talking about it. Thank you for tuning in and hope you have a great night. See you guys. Bye.